we didn't waste a gram anywhere. So like, I mean, it's the same with bike frames. If you accept that the frame is going to be heavy, it's easy to make it work. You just, double the layers everywhere and you're good to go. But if you want to go for the perfect product, then it takes more iterations, and it also takes more challenges and frustration here and there to get it done. It helps us to really follow the rider input much closer. The connection between the rider and the electric motor, which is the source of the power, is much closer, much directer.
It's the industry, it's the journalists, it's the end consumers, it's the retailers that decide, okay, what you're telling us is no marketing bullcrap, what you're telling us, it actually works. So it is this nature ride feel, it is this cycling just a little bit better, it is you just fitter. And all these
Anna Vodickova and Daniel Theil, welcome to the Downtime Podcast. How you doing?
Very good. Thanks for having us.
All good, thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on board. And thanks Anna for hosting me and showing me around the TQ facilities over the last half a day or so. It's been really interesting to get some background and see the place after having spent a bit of time riding the product recently. But we'll talk about all that as we get through this. Before we do that, Anna, just give us a little bit of background on TQ as a company, because I think a lot of people, this will probably be the first time they've heard about TQ.
Yeah, for sure. So TQ has been founded in 1994 by two of our founders who are still the CEOs of the company, Rüdiger Stahl and Detlef Schneider. We're a Germany-based company, family-owned. We're at 2,000 employees right now, and the main sector that we work in is the electronical engineering and manufacturing services, so E2MS. It's a classic B2B case, so people wouldn't know us because we're built into a lot of tech that people actually use on an everyday basis, and a lot of smart and innovative products, but it's something that you wouldn't see TQ in front of yourself in a product.
Yeah, very much a family company,
Yeah, definitely. Still founder and family owned. We are at 2,000 employees right now. So we're growing quite fast for an electronics company.
For sure. How many of those employees are working kind of in the e-bike space?
So at the location we're at right now, we're in Inningham Ammersee. Mm-hmm. So that's about 200 people, but we're sharing this facility with the whole drive system business unit, which means that the drive systems for e-bikes, but also for the other industrial applications, it all takes place in here. Okay. So we're all sharing that.
Yeah, makes sense. And how does involvement with e-bikes come about then? Because it's been quite a long time that TQ have been working in that space, right?
Yeah, so I think the first motor was the HBR 120S. And we launched it about 10 years ago in a concept bike. And then it hasn't really been ridden for too long. And then in 17, 18, we had a big breakthrough with Highbike and M1, which are two local companies in here. I think Highbike, pretty much everybody in the e-bike segment knows who they are.
Yeah.
M1 is a smaller local company from Bavaria. And we launched with them, but that's been a while back now.
Okay, interesting. And Daniel, how about you? How did you end up getting involved with TQ?
That's a good story. So I've been a product manager for quite some time, for the past 10 years. I have a mechanical engineering background, and I got tired of automotive, and I needed to move somewhere where my passion is closer. So I started as a product manager for outdoor equipment and rock climbing equipment.
Okay.
And I was always a good friend of Simon, and Simon is the head of the e-bike business unit. Mm-hmm. And he was always trying to get me on board. And I was working for a small company that I didn't really wanted to turn my back on. So it was a bit of a challenge for him to get me. But after 5 years, it felt right. And I switched to TQ.
Awesome. When was
doing
that?
that for 6 years now.
6 years, okay. Yeah. So what was HPR 50 started when you joined? What state were things in?
Yeah. So we had the HPR 120S. Don't ask what the S stands for. So that was an existing product when I came on board, and we were kind of in the middle of the development with Highbike. And we were kind of looking for business opportunities, business development, seeing where the potential of the big motor lies, and talking to a lot of people, trying to connect with a lot of people, just to get a better feeling for where we could place our next step.
Yeah.
And we learned that the technology was super cool that we had, and the potential that it offered. And I think it was just it sounds easy, but it was just a thing of scaling it in a different direction to better fit the market.
Yeah. What came first then? Was it the decision from you guys to create a product at that size and power, or was it Trek kind of seeing the technology and saying, hey guys, like, we think this could be interesting?
It was a bit of a mix. So we were talking to a few different people and getting influences, and we had like everyone was saying the same thing. They felt like the technology is amazing. The power that the HPR 120 had, 120 Newton meters, is impressive and fun somehow, but it's just too niche. And so we were having these conversations, and then we got a very, very good connection with Trek, and they really pushed us, and they really got the ball rolling. So they really challenged us and said, hey, take your technology, it's amazing, and just show us how far you can scale this thing down.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of got the ball rolling. So they were ready to invest their time, their feedback, and also money to build test bikes and everything, get prototypes up and going.
Yeah.
So they really gave us the confidence to move forward.
Yeah, that's really exciting. So where were you at, like, roughly with the 120 then? Sort of weight, I guess, is the key thing here.
Weight of the drive unit itself was around 4 kilos.
Okay.
So at that time, that was fine.
Yeah.
It was okay. But now, I mean, with the HPR 50, we're at 1.8 kilos. So that's quite a difference.
Yeah, that is a huge change. And a big part of the technology is this harmonic pin ring. That is kind of, I guess, the crux of it. That's what enables you to do what you're doing. Can you explain what that is and kind of what it's doing for you?
Yeah, it's complex, so I'll try. Just ask if anything is not really clear.
For sure.
So every e-bike motor has an electric motor inside, and then a set of cogwheels or planetary gears to kind of bring the high fast spinning RPMs of the electric motor on the same level as the cadence of a rider. So rider cadence typically somewhere around 80 maybe, and an electric motor likes to spin with a couple of thousand RPMs.
Okay.
If you force it to spin very slow, it gets less efficient. If you have it spin very fast, it gets noisy. So there's a sweet spot somewhere in between.
Yeah.
So every e-bike motor, at least the mid motors, have this set of planetary gears and cogwheels to bring the RPMs into harmony. And our luck with the pin ring technology is that we can do this in a single step. So we actually just have two rings that are interconnecting, and in this single step we can do the transmission or the ratio change from the fast spinning electric motor, and we scale it down by 17.5 to the RPM of the rider.
Okay.
So if you take the rider cadence, and to make it simple, let's say he's riding with a cadence of 100, then the electric motor is spinning with a cadence 17.5 times as fast.
Okay. And that single step, is that a big enabler in making this whole thing both smaller and lighter, I guess?
Yeah, so the single step has a lot of benefits. The single step makes it much smaller, much lighter, and the single step also makes it less noisy. Yeah. Because we have much less teeth that tolerance and everything. The teeth are meshing, but it's just one step. So we only have one tolerance. The tolerance chain is very short. There's not a lot of lag. There's not a lot of rattling noises and whatever. It can come from a set of cogwheels. Yeah. And it helps us to really follow the rider input much closer. The connection between the rider and the electric motor, which is the source of the power, is much closer, much directer.
Okay. Interesting. And Anna showed me the parts yesterday, and I was pretty fascinated to see that the kind of the metal gearing is meshing with plastic. Yeah. And there's zero wear. The plastic thing never needs replacing.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good combination. If you have metal on metal, it's a bit harsh and it tends to be noisier. Yeah. And the combination, it's a very special plastic, so it's pretty technical, and we did a lot of fine-tuning and calculations to get that dialed in perfectly. But it's a kind of self-lubricating, so it's a really good connection that's good for wear and also for things like noise and stuff like that.
Impressive stuff. So obviously you've got this harmonic pin ring technology, and that came from the TQ history, right? That's something that TQ have used and designed in the past, so there was a familiarity there. That's obviously helped you. What were the other things you set out to achieve with the motor? Because size and weight is one thing, but I think there are a lot of other characteristics of this system that are pretty unique in the market.
Yeah, so with the HBR 120S, we kind of started with the product, and then we looked for a market, and we tried to learn from that, and we really focused on the use case. So the first thing we did is we really looked, what does the rider need? And we defined that, and that then defined the product. So we didn't say, okay, we were going to make a battery 360 watt hours. We actually said, okay, what range do we want to achieve with a certain rider and a certain set of assist, a certain level of assist.
Yeah.
And that defined the battery size. And in the same way, we looked at every single feature and every single component within the motor and on the bike. We looked at this way. So sensors, for example, we had a specific natural ride feel that we wanted to achieve, and that led us to the point where we decided, okay, which sensors do we need on board to achieve this? So everything in this motor and every component on the bike was designed around the specific use case.
Yeah, impressive stuff. Really, like, beyond my comprehension, really. Like, a lot of this stuff is so complex and really hard to get to. You talk about this, like, rider feel and it being intuitive. What does that mean? How would you, like, take that apart and explain it? Because it's quite a complex topic, I think.
Yeah, I think, like, the biggest compliment is that you forget you're sitting on an e-bike. I mean, obviously there's a lot of assist. You get 300 watts of assist from the motor, and that is noticeable, that you're much faster and you're just flying uphill, and you can do your loop much quicker, and you can get more ride time, or you can get more miles in the same ride time. So there's definitely something happening, and if you switch off the motor assist, you definitely notice a difference. But a great compliment for us would be that you forget you're sitting on an e-bike. You just feel like, wow, today I'm just like my legs, and I'm just flying. And that's exactly what happens now, in my opinion. So the motor just assists really naturally. It just follows your input so closely that it doesn't feel like it's two different power sources. It feels like it's coming from your legs.
Yeah.
And then we really focused on other things a lot, like the noise, for example. I mean, at the time, it was 2019, e-bike motors were noisy.
Yeah, well, and they still are to a great extent.
Yeah, and we were talking to many people, and everyone was like, don't over-prioritize noise. I mean, it's just the way it is, and people accept it. But we felt like it's a really important building block for natural ride feel, that you actually don't have this sound reminding you and everyone around you that you're actually riding an e-bike.
Yeah.
So for us, I think this natural ride feel the essence would be you forget that you're riding an e-bike. So it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Can you talk us through some of the things maybe that you've done on the noise side? Obviously, you've got this harmonic pin ring, which enables you, like you say, you've got less interfaces, less things going on. You've got a much tighter tolerance control. Are there other elements here that play into that whole, like, noise and vibration piece that enable you to keep this thing quiet? Because I've ridden it and it is very quiet. Like, you can just about hear it if you're on a road, but once you're off road, it's inaudible, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's there where it needs to be. You can forget about it if you really focus on it and spin super high RPM. You can hear it if you really want to, but normally you don't.
Yeah.
So what we did, like you mentioned it before, the material pairing. We worked a lot on that to get like beneficial material pairings, so that that doesn't create noise.
Yeah.
Then we have the only the one interface in our gearing, which helps a lot. And then a big source of noise is RPM.
Okay.
So if you imagine like a power tool or something, it's fast spinning, and you get this whining noise, the typical electric motor noise.
Yeah.
And a lot of e-bike motors have it, and there's a good reason to it, because a higher RPM makes it much easier to design the electric motor. It likes to spin fast, so you can just take a simple electric motor. You don't need to do a lot of engineering. You can just take it off the shelf, put it in the bike, and it will be all right. And we have a lot of experience with electric motors, so we took the challenge of actually bringing the RPM down. So our reduction ratio of 17.5 rider cadence compared to RPM of the motor is very, very low.
Okay.
Other e-bike motors have around 40, 50.
Okay. So the motor's spinning much faster.
Much faster,
Yeah.
In our case, we took it down pretty low, which is a guarantee for us to bring the noise down.
Yeah.
So that really helped us a lot. And you get a much closer, the RPM of the motor and the rider are much closer, so you can get a much closer director assist.
Yeah, but then your motor efficiency is reducing, so
In
you've got to bring that back somehow.
Exactly. In theory, the motor efficiency is reduced because the motor would like higher RPM.
Yeah.
But that's where our know-how comes in, that we do a lot of electric motors for decades. We've been designing electric motors for all different industrial applications. So we know what to do to bring the efficiency back up.
Yeah.
So we actually designed the motor exactly for this reduction ratio and exactly the RPMs that it's going to have inside a bike. And we set the sweet spot of the motor for that RPM.
Very clever. What other kind of big hurdles were then to get from the base technology to get into something that was like production ready? What were some of the biggest challenges for you? Because nothing's ever straightforward. Huh?
No, I mean, like the thing is full of challenges. We didn't make it easy for ourselves. So we really focused on the use case, like I said, and we didn't want to take any shortcuts anywhere.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of innovations in there. There's a lot of patents within the motor. There's a lot of technology. Yeah, we kind of know it from other industries, but there's also a lot of stuff we just came up with, like sensors, for example.
Yeah.
The torque sensor in the motor is very special as well. It's also patented. We looked what sensors are around, and many e-bike drive units use off-the-shelf sensors. So there's companies specialized in making torque sensors, and you just buy the sensor, you integrate it into your design. Maybe we make some adaptations here and there, but apart from that, it works. But now with our gearing technology, we can achieve a motor that is so compact in size that we found that none of the standard sensors would fit inside. And it feels wrong to make the motor bigger just to fit the sensor in there.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, what space do we have available? And with our electronics know-how and our other know-how in other different industries, how can we fit a sensor inside that motor? And that's exactly what we did. So we just came up with our own sensor concept. And then somewhere down the way, we found out, okay, this is actually new. Hasn't been around yet. So we tried to protect the technology with a patent. But it's all driven by our use case and by our goal.
Yeah.
So the challenges like that are all over the place.
Yeah.
We didn't waste a gram anywhere. So it's the same with bike frames. If you accept that the frame is going to be heavy, it's easy to make it work. You just, double the layers everywhere and you're good to go. But if you want to go for the perfect product, then it takes more iterations and it also takes more challenges and frustration here and there to get it done.
Yeah. So just to make sure everyone's clear, I guess the sensor is what is reading and recording the rider input, and then that allows the electronics system to decide what the motor's going to do. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the sensors. So there's several sensors in there. And what the sensors do is they kind of monitor the rider.
Yeah.
And they try to understand what he's doing and what he wants. And that controls what the motor is going to give you as an assist. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like this whole thing from the start has been very rider focused, I would say. The first bike you launched with was the Trek Fuel EXe, which has been a outstanding success. I was lucky enough to spend a few weeks with one recently before coming out here. So I guess it's worth talking a little bit about that ride experience, because I think the biggest, there's two. Well, no, go on. I think there's three big things when you get hold of that bike. One is the weight. Like, it doesn't feel really any different. It's probably a kilo heavier than a sort of fully kitted out enduro bike, which is insane. So good work on that. The second thing is the noise, and the fact that there really isn't very much compared to other e-bikes, especially when you get back on a regular e-bike and it reminds you how noisy those things actually are, which I think does detract from the experience of mountain biking for me. Like, part of mountain biking is being out in the countryside, and the countryside isn't whiny and noisy like the city maybe is. So it's cool to be on a bike like that out in the wilds. And then the third thing is this rider feel, which is a lot less easy to explain, I think. Like, I don't know how you guys kind of interpret that, but I just felt like a fitter version of me, and I had 3 options as to how much fitter I was going to be, if that makes sense, which is the modes of the system. Like, I didn't feel like I was riding something with another brain. Like on other e-bikes, I find there's a connection between my input and what the motor does, and I don't understand it. I can't see the calibration, and it doesn't quite feel like 100% connection between me. The interpretation between my input and the output of the bike doesn't quite make sense. And sometimes that catches me out, certainly on technical climbs, like that sort of stuff can be a bit unusual. And I didn't feel that with the TQ system.
Yeah, that was exactly the goal that we were aiming for.
Yeah. How, because there must still be a motor calibration. What is it? And I don't know how much of this you can give away and how much is like a trade secret kind of thing, but like, how would you explain what's different about the way you deal with rider input and the way you convert that to the additional power and the way you deliver that?
Yeah, I think there's 2 sides to it. There's the software side and the algorithm, but there's also the hardware side. So this much directer connection between the electric motor and the rider makes it easier for us in a way to get this natural ride feel. And then on the other side, I mean, the sensor, like I said, is not off the shelf. We designed it for specifically this application. So it has one job, and everything in there is designed for exactly this. So I think, the sensors, the hardware, everything that we have in there is all focusing on natural ride feel. And then if we come with a good algorithm on top that has some little secrets here and there, then I think we can achieve a really good ride feel.
Yeah. And is the calibration something that the bike company have some control over? Like, could it be different? Could you ride a TQ system in a Trek and then a TQ system in a different bike and it feels slightly different? Yeah,
okay. For sure. So that's a little bit of freedom that we want to give to the to our customers, to the bike brands, that they can actually influence the ride feel a little bit. So of course we set our boundaries where we believe this product makes sense and should be ridden, but like the bike has different geometries, different, like we have downcountry bikes, we have drop bar bikes, we have enduros, and they maybe need a little bit of a different tune. So we cater for that we actually send our engineers together with the product managers of Trek, for example. We send them out to ride together, and we do a couple of iterations of that to really tune in the ride feel that this bike needs and this product needs. Yeah. So a Trek out of the box, a Trek Fuel EXe will ride differently, or the motor tune will be slightly different and adapted to the bike compared to the Mani Plus road bike, for example.
Yeah. And what's it been like then, like working alongside Trek? Because I mean, one of the biggest bike brands in the world, you couldn't really have a better partner to launch this system with, I guess. Like, we'll talk about maybe the brand and the marketing side of things in a second, but let's just get the engineering stuff first. Like, how was it working with that team?
Yeah, it was really cool. So it was amazingly easy to work with them. I mean, they're a huge American brand, and sometimes we were a bit worried of how they would would we work on, would they see us on the same level, and how fair would this partnership be? But now looking back the past few years, I can say we really, we've grown together, and we have a great basis of trust. And I mean, there were some challenges along the way, and I think if you run into a challenge, then you really notice how good a partnership works. And we've been very lucky with our partners, and Trek is definitely one of the leading partners there.
Definitely, yeah. The level of kind of engineering detail, like I've seen reports from some noise and vibration work in a semi-anechoic chamber with the bike, which is something that I'm familiar with from my past in the engineering world, but I don't think I've ever seen, maybe it's been done, but I don't think I've ever seen a bike in a semi-anechoic chamber before. It's awesome to see like the level of work that's gone into making that thing as good as it is.
I think on their side they went just as much all in as we did. So the feedback we got from them, the support we got, we learned so much from them about designing frames and stuff like that. Not that we design frames, but the interface needs to needs to work. So
for sure.
That's all the little details. We learned a lot from them. We had very early test rides with very early prototypes, and they gave us a lot of support there.
Yeah, and I guess the way that the system is mounted into the bike is also going to impact that noise, right? The bike is there to potentially amplify
it impacts noise, and also like if this interface is not ideal, then it also creates weight. Maybe not in the drive unit, but in the end the frame needs to be stiffer or something, and that adds weight. So in the end the total bike weight will go up, and then we missed something.
Yeah. Anna, let's talk a little bit about the brand and the marketing side of things, because like you've got quite a challenge, I guess, in that you're bringing to the mountain bike world a brand that no one's aware of, right? TQ is brand new to the mountain bike world pre this Trek bike, really. Maybe the HP 120S had some kind of awareness, but I don't think many people will know it from that. How have you gone about like starting to build this brand? Because it is almost invisible, right? The Trek silhouette, it doesn't really look much like an e-bike. It's quite tucked away. So how have you started to build that brand awareness and respect for TQ within the mountain bike world? It's a big question.
That is a big loaded question right there. So with the previous product, with the HPR 120S, we've had some sort of market penetration, but it was focused mainly on the German-speaking market, e-bike market. So the people in the know would know.
Yeah.
But the rest of the world, let's be realistic, didn't know. None of the North American English-speaking mountain bike market, road bike market, none of us would know, just because TQ has never been a big marketing company. We're based around the product. We strive for product excellence, for innovation, and just looking into the future industries. So we haven't been built around marketing. So that was like a big challenge for us, and especially with the HPR 50. So now you have a product, you cannot hear it. Visually, it's almost not there. You cannot feel it. It's just this feeling. So if you don't test it, how do you explain that stuff? Plus, you're launching next to one of the biggest brands in the industry, which is pretty much a threat, but also the biggest gift that we've been given with this partnership, and just Trek being a really good launching partner. And then with all of the other brands coming after them, it's been a great experience, but it was a big mind bender because first of all, it took a while until we also had here in Inning in Germany, the prototypes to be able to ride on, because how do you market stuff that you haven't ridden?
Yeah.
You just see some components and it's all so technical. And of course, the easiest way is just to put it into an Excel table, spreadsheet, just put it next to all of your competitors. Here are the numbers. Yeah. This is what it means. This is what the numbers mean for you. That's it. That's the end of the conversation. That's how a lot of people actually perceive technology in bikes or bikes in general.
Yeah.
And we said, no, let's try it the emotional way. So really just channeling in, okay, how does it feel to ride this thing? So it's this just what everybody loves on cycling. Feeling of freedom, feeling that fresh air in your face once you hit the pedals, you just go anywhere. And it doesn't matter if you have a half an hour, if you have 1 hour, it doesn't matter if you're with your friends. They're not annoyed by you because you're loud. They're not annoyed by you because you cannot keep up, because let's be realistic, we all, as we sit here, have like quite demanding jobs. So, you know, the fitness goes down the drain.
For sure.
So it is a lot of fun when you know that you can keep up with a lot of fit friends, or just in general anyone, and not being the disturbing element. So we really focused on that. And then Trek came in with also just seeing us for the tech company that we actually are, for the huge heritage in robotics and aerospace, and just bringing that one up and being like, okay, that's a great talking point for you guys. And we're like, actually, yeah, that is exactly what we are. Like, we don't need to build any brand out of nowhere. Yeah. We just take what we have, which is the heritage, being an electronics company, market leading, working with great customers, and having the team of real people, just really passionate people about the product and about cycling.
Nice. And you made that point about kind of mixed group rides, I guess, like people on normal bikes and people on e-bikes. And so far for me, that's a mix that really hasn't worked in general, unless someone's like way fitter or way less fit. Like the bikes are too different. Whereas the Fuel EXe with that TQ system in, I think you're right. It is that bike that you can take on a ride with people that aren't on them. You could go on a ride with e-bikes on it. Like if you're fit enough, there's a good ability to overlap. It feels much more. We had this conversation a bit yesterday. For me, up until riding that, e-bikes felt like a different thing to mountain bikes. This bike with the TQ driving feels like a mountain bike on which I'm just a bit fitter. Like if you turn the system off, it feels basically like a normal bike. Descending it feels 100% like a normal bike. Like that, maybe 1 kilo of additional weight is virtually impossible to notice, I would say. So there's none of I think e-bikes descend pretty well, but there's definitely areas where the weight of them is a negative. And it just doesn't have that with this system, which is so yeah, it's cool that you've got this thing that sits like that. What was it like when you guys finally like got to ride it in what was effectively the final product? Because you said it was a little while before it was available to you. Must have been fun.
Yeah, like you couldn't get me off the bike for sure. It was just so much fun. But it was the early stages prototypes. No one was allowed to see it. It was also like full-blown COVID everywhere, so not really a chance to travel anywhere far where people wouldn't recognize you.
Yeah.
And it was just going into the mountains, kind of incognito, no logos, nothing, everything just super secret, just with your work friends. And not being able to include any of your friends, and you're like so hyped about this, and you're like, oh my god, this is coming. Like, and this bike is so good, and like it's gonna change cycling because it's just this entry-level e-bike, and not entry-level from a price point of view.
Yeah,
it's just for people who haven't seen e-bikes as something that has been made for them.
Yeah,
because they're great. The full power e-bikes, I mean, people love them, and there is a good reason to love them.
Oh yeah, they definitely have a place. Yeah.
There's no doubt about that, but for still a lot of people have been hesitant towards e-bikes because there was no one catering to them and just making something that's so stealth. And now here we are.
Yeah.
I think especially the guys over at Pink Bike, they recognize that as well. Big shout out to them. We didn't think that it would be possible to just convert so many people, especially in North America, because with the e-biking, they're still quite a few years behind in the German-speaking market, or just generally the European market. And now with this, it's not the tech is not in your face.
Yeah, it's very unobtrusive for sure. How was that initial Trek launch then? Like finally getting all these journalists in one place and hearing their feedback on something that you've worked on for 6+ years probably?
Well, yeah, I mean the technology has been around for that long.
Yeah.
The project itself kind of kicked off with a test ride we did with Trek in October 19.
Okay.
So somewhere around 3 years we worked on it. But like Anna said, we all turned into very lonely riders, riding prototypes somewhere by ourselves. And I got into the habit of wearing a full face helmet just to make sure no one could tell who I am, not to get into any awkward conversations.
Yeah.
And then finally we could show what we were working on for so long. And I mean, I think we both agree on that. It was like an amazing day. We were so happy and so proud to just share what we were doing for the past few years.
Yeah. What was the feedback like from the press on that? Because it is a unique product, I think. Yeah.
And you have a small group of people that have been working on this project, and we've been getting a lot of feedback from the OEMs that we've had on board, from external companies, agencies, different kinds of riders who had the chance to test the prototypes, product managers from other companies. So we got a good feel on how we should communicate this.
Okay.
But of course, it's the industry, it's the journalists, it's the end consumers, it's the retailers that decide, okay, what you're telling us is no marketing bullcrap, you know? What you're telling us, it actually works. So it is this nature ride feel. It is this cycling just a little bit better. It is you just fitter. And all these claims we thought of 2 years ahead, we started with this, building up onto this big marketing campaign. And just at that day, having those people sit on the bike during the press camp, we had it, we held it over here. together with Trek. So they've been a great support. They flew all the right people in, and then we were able to just go on a ride with them and have them over, show them the production line, show them the robots that are working on the motors here where we're sitting in Inning.
Yeah.
And then go for a ride, have a barbecue, and just have a good old time, drink some beers. That's just what TQ does. And listening to them just being like, yeah, this product, it works. Like, it's gonna change things.
Definitely.
And then we had a couple more weeks just working very stealth under the radar. And then Eurobike 2022 came.
Yeah.
And we launched the night before. Yeah, I remember I was sitting at the booth. It wasn't still fully built. It was full of dust, alone. All the other booths were like being built up around me, just like refreshing the button on my laptop. I'm like, where are all the articles? Like, when is it all going online? Then our website went online, Trek website went online. Then we have this like WhatsApp group. So everybody was like on their way to Frankfurt in the cars, the rest of the team, just like, oh my God, it's all online. Like, have you seen this? Have you seen this video? Have you read this article? And then I think everybody just stayed, like, we had a good dinner, had some drinks, and just stayed up late reading all the articles. So I can imagine that Danny probably didn't get any sleep that night, just going through so much text and videos that night, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, it was just so nice to see that people actually understood the product.
Yeah.
And they agreed on our thoughts, on our decisions. There's so many decisions we had to make down the road, and it was really nice to see that actually people understand it and people share our opinion.
Yeah, the response was super positive, I think. What's it been like now that it's been in the hands of the general public for somewhere in the region of 12 months it's been available, although it's pretty hard to get hold of one, I think. Like, they've been popular and sold out in pretty much all models, all sizes.
Good. I mean, of course, there's some challenges still, and we're still, growing production numbers and everything. So it's not like it's becoming boring in any way. And there's a roadmap, so we're working on other stuff as well. But it's been really good. I mean, I think we've been really fortunate with our customers, also like the other brands hopping on board. We have some amazing brands out there, and Trek leading the way, and then many others following with their own interpretation of our HPR 50. We have bikes in all different categories, from road bikes to downcountry bikes to 170 mil enduro bikes. So there's everything there for everyone.
Yeah. Were you working with other OEMs like in parallel with Trek, or you were? So what other bikes is it in now? There's quite a few systems already launched, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, a huge one for sure is Scott. They have it in their Lumen model, for example. That's a kind of like a downcountry bike, short travel trail bike. And they have it in Solace as well, which is a gravel and road bike. Then, I mean, we can list them. Maybe we should. I mean, they're all amazing brands,
Yeah,
do it.
So I counted it. It's 8 brands now.
Nice.
And each of the brands, some of them have one integration, some of them multiple integrations. So Trek would be 2 bikes.
Yeah.
We talked about that. Then Scott. Then the second kind of wave was also Simplon.
Yeah.
So they have this just award-winning, all across the board enduro bike. So that's a proper machine. But just looking at that Repkin and the Repkin P-Max TQ with the motor, so they have an analog version of that. It's insane. Like, there is no chance for normal people to be able to recognize it's an e-bike compared to their analog enduro. They have a really nice touring bike as well, the Silk Carbon. Then BMC launched as well. So they have it's like a Swiss knife of mountain bikes. I really like that. 120 mil cross country full suspension bike and a drop bar bike, the Road Machine, which is also very fun to ride, very fast. And then in this spring we launched together with Theil, and they have a smaller battery, so it's been custom made together with them. So it's a 120 watt-hour battery. So again, it's next level interpretation of our system.
It's a 250.
Sorry, what did I say?
120.
That would be very
Jump in
little.
there.
That would be very little, 250 watt-hour battery.
To be fair though, I was surprised at the range because I had a little bit. I'm definitely a range anxiety kind of guy, and I had that concern because I know it's a smaller battery than I've been used to. But equally, I guess the motor is lower power. But my local hill is very steep, but I still had it in like the highest mode for most of the ride. Had a decent ride out and came back with 50% of the battery left. So I'm surprised with that. Is it like an efficiency thing? Is that what's enabling you to maybe get more than you'd expect from that battery?
Yeah. So like it's definitely an efficiency thing. And most people thinking of efficiency, they always think of the motor, the drive unit, which is right. I mean, that plays a role. But there's also an efficiency within the battery.
Okay.
So how good does the battery actually handle the cells? How well does it actually drain the energy the cells have in there?
Yeah.
And then there's also the connection between the motor and the battery. So how well do these two work together to achieve the maximum range?
Yeah.
So system efficiency, I think, is the key word there.
Yeah.
And we definitely worked a lot on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Because like every cell we add adds weight. So we were really trying to dial in the perfect battery size
Interesting.
to get as far as you need to.
So not all watt hours are equal, basically. That's what we're
for
saying.
Sure not.
Yeah. It depends on how it's set up, how the
how
controls
well
used.
The cells match the actual use case. So how much the motor actually challenges them.
Yeah.
All that. It's like it's happening on a lot of levels.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, we were at Rot Rails.
Yeah, sorry.
I was just rolling with the breads. But I was getting to the end of it, so we stopped with Rotwelt and their 250 watt-hour battery.
Very good. Yeah.
Because 120 you probably wouldn't even charge your phone. And then Pinarello launched in March, which was a big launch. Pinarello is an insane brand. It just has so much legacy and heritage, and just their meaning to the cycling industry is massive. Racing, really just making a mark on the road bike map. So it's integrated in the Nitro. So there's a road and gravel and kind of like an urban city variation of these bikes. They're very well executed, very good Italian design, like that, looking speedy. Yeah, we talked about it with Chris at dinner last night. And then the latest addition to the TQ family was the Fantic, so another Italian brand.
Yeah.
Just really pushing the price also a little bit lower because now we're at the very high-end premium product price range. It's just where the technology is and where you go with the kind of innovation that we're offering to the market.
Yeah. And
I think there are a few more brands that we could list, but they're still coming up. So
I can imagine your
bit.
phone and your email has been quite busy since you launched this bike because it has received so much praise that I'm guessing most OEMs are kind of knocking at your door and wanting to work with you, which is a nice problem to have, but a problem, I guess, like you can't do everything.
This episode, I think we're going to launch it on 12th of July, and it's 1 year anniversary of the big launch, and just a few weeks after that it's gonna get really exciting again. So whoever doesn't have any bike with Tiki HPR 50, there's gonna be more.
I think just for us it is a very fortunate situation to be in. Like it's not to sound cocky, but we can in a way decide who the right brands are for us.
Yeah.
And I think that's like mega important because like we just talked about, TQ was basically unheard of. And I think the brands that we launch with really give us character, gives our brand 100%. An identity. If I'm talking in your topic,
great
now.
Marketing talk, love
thank
it.
You. Yeah,
go on.
And so we're really fortunate that we can pick the ones that actually fit to us.
Yeah,
and give us the right direction.
It shows that you've created something special if you're in that position to come from unknown commodity within the industry to suddenly picking and choosing who you work with overnight. It's like you've obviously made something pretty special. Yeah.
And it's also very important for us because we know that being in this niche category, people have such a high expectations as they should have.
Yeah.
And very high demands as they should have for this kind of price category. So for us, it's also important to work with OEMs that understand the concept and don't try to make anything else out of it.
Okay.
So to really make it a well-rounded product that works well.
rather than trying to dilute it, make it cheaper, or
Exactly.
Yeah, we're not looking for sales. We're looking for partners. So of course we need to sell bikes and systems to make a living, but we're looking for strong partnerships to really push the product forward.
Yeah, and it's been well received, not just from the public in a sales context and brands knocking on your door, but there's a couple of awards up on the wall behind you. Tell us a bit about those, Anna. They must have been nice to receive.
Yeah, it's so the first one we've received was by Pink Bike. So there was just a couple of days after Christmas. We're all on holidays, and I just saw the article that we've been nominated, and then a couple of days later I saw the article that we got the Innovation of the Year award, and yeah, I was just sitting somewhere skiing, probably just had a little cry by myself. It's just
it's pretty
Tears
special.
of joy, right?
Is that
tears of joy.
Is that the first
Just couldn't believe it.
e-bike system to win an innovation award?
A system, yeah. Exactly.
E-bike anything, right? From
there was a
Pink
Turbo Levo,
okay.
or Levo SL. I think Levo SL won an Innovation of the Year.
As a bike.
As a bike,
Yeah,
as a whole bike.
Yeah.
But now it was just literally the system from a magazine or a community that's been hating on e-bikes for so long.
Yeah, you're starting to turn people around, eh?
Yeah,
That's
we
good.
do.
Yeah.
We do. It always puts a big smile on my face when I see people who haven't been into e-biking, because before I started working at TQ, I was like, e-bike, nah, wouldn't touch one. Now look at me, just avid e-cyclist. And the other one is the Design Award. So that's another big industry award that we got in the components category, which we're very, very proud of.
Yeah, shows you're doing good stuff. So where did TQ go from here then? It feels like a pretty incredible start to hopefully a long future in the mountain bike world. But where do you see things going from a brand perspective? And then maybe we'll also talk about sort of a product and a technology perspective too.
So last year it was a very big task for us to kind of get the brand in front of the right people in the e-mountain biking category, because that was definitely the focus also sales-wise. Most of the bikes are e-mountain bikes. This year it's just we're moving away from the E, because we realized that now, okay, the E world, they know. The people in the know, they know. And now all the people that don't consider e-bikes a valid option for them, they should know. So this year is definitely a big introduction of TQ to the mountain biking kind of sector, target groups. Also not forgetting about retailers. Mm-hmm. That's a big, big task, just because they are the first people in the line, especially if there are problems. So we're not forgetting about them and just trying to activate them a lot, doing trainings, programs for them, webinars, and then probably moving on to the road bike market, gravel market, because it is potential. It's not as growing as everybody was hoping for, but maybe again it is still the critical mass that is missing. Maybe it is still the products that are missing, that which are making that so much more fun. And I've been speaking to a few people in North America, so they're allowed to go a bit faster with the system, which is of course on roads and on gravel more fun, because for mountain bike 25 kilometers per hour, it's fine. You don't really need to go any faster than that, but on a road, on a gravel, definitely have that little bit more need for speed, and it is a product for them. It is product for North America for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. What about from a technology side of things? How do you see e-bike technology progressing? And it doesn't have to necessarily just be like within TQ, but in general, like, will we see things continue to get smaller and lighter? Like, is there still scope there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with the HBR 50 drive unit, I think we achieved a pretty good benchmark, but I still see potential there in scaling. Mm-hmm. And then I think like battery technology is moving forward. Yeah. So there's some stuff happening there. For sure that's going to change in the future. And then I think, like, it's no secret, I think the big next thing is integration. So we suddenly have a big battery here on board, and a lot of bikes have e-shifting and e-dropper posts and whatever. Yeah. And the next step is going to be to integrate more of that. but always keeping the rider in the focus.
Okay.
I think like techie people as we are, it's super easy to just fall in love with technology and get carried away.
Yeah, tech for tech's sake.
The good thing is that we're also passionate riders, so we always try to kind of step back a bit and focus on what's really important to the rider. And if there's not a rider benefit behind it, then there's no reason to do it.
Yeah. Do you see benefit in taking kind of your system to a higher power level and using some of that rider feel, like quality of kind of calibration and stuff at a higher power level? I mean, I guess with that brings challenges still around scale and noise and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But I think with the HPR 50 now compared to the HPR 120S, we kind of have proven that our technology is scalable. So now it's our next step is to decide in which direction we want to scale it.
Yeah.
And without kind of losing our USPs. So our USPs of being lightest, smallest, and quietest in its category is what we're going to take and bring it into different categories.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would 100% love to have that feel across any e-bike I ever rode, because it's definitely the most intuitive. I think it doesn't feel like there's a computer in between me and the bike for the first time on any kind of e-bike, which is
that's a huge compliment.
Super cool. Yeah, you've done a very good job. Well, it's been really interesting finding out more about the brand and the product. It's incredible what you've achieved in such a short space of time, and the reaction from riders, journalists, the market just shows that you've done some really good stuff. So congratulations. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes and seeing more stuff. If people want to find out more, Anna, where's the best place for them to be looking?
The internet. So definitely go check out our website. It's full of very exciting CGIs. You can see inside of the motor. It explodes in front of you.
Nice.
We put a lot of work into that, so it's very it's realism. CGIs, TQ eBike, just type that one into Google, Bing, whatever you're using. And then the classic social media, TQ eBike over Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Perfect.
So go slide into our DMs. If you're riding TQ powered e-bike, tag us.
Good stuff. Yeah, I will put links in the show notes so people can find all of that stuff nice and easily. But yeah, thank you for having me out here, showing me around, letting me see inside the motors, and all the best for the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
Cheers.